When I was younger, my grandparents lived in a very nice country home just outside of town. The property must have only been a few acres, but as a child I imagined it to be much, much larger. My grandfather came from a long line of Swedish and Norwegian farmers, himself being of the second generation born in America. He would tell me stories and tales of the homeland passed on to him by his grandfather. Their front yard was perfectly manicured. The side yard that wrapped around the house to the backyard was also very neatly kept. I rather enjoyed the appearance of the house. From the outside, it was very warm and inviting. The trim was a soft brown that looked very comforting above the white siding. The front entranceway was accompanied with a flower pot growing a sunflower that was as tall as me at the time, yellow as the sun. The front door was red and had an old horseshoe door knocker. Just inside was the front room, and it was very cozy. The stone fireplace warmed the wood panel walls. The carpet was plush, and it felt as if you were stepping on a cloud, soft on impact, but almost springy on takeoff. I couldn't speak much on the comfortability of the couches, as us kids were not allowed to sit on them. They were wrapped in clear plastic, but they looked beautiful with their vintage floral pattern and hand-carved wooden frame. The kitchen was through some French doors in the next room. It was open and shared with the dining room. They had a very lovely cabinet with very fancy plates and silverware in there. Past the kitchen was a small hallway that led to a mudroom at the back of the house. And at the halfway point of the hallway was a bathroom to the left, and to the right was a stairway leading down into the basement and guest room. They had some interesting, old, and very odd things down there. Lots of antiques. Tables, chairs, dresses, paintings, wooden and hand-carved sculptures, and a large grandfather clock. It was a trove of mysterious belongings from unknown origins. The power of curiosity in a place like that is almost debilitating to a child. One day, my brother found me playing with Lincoln logs in the front room on the floor, saying, "Hey," under his breath quietly, "I found something on the stairs. Come on, I want to show you." Like the Pied Piper and the spell that was cast on all them children in that town, I was compelled to follow. The air began to feel still as we crossed the threshold from front room to kitchen to hall, and halfway down the stairs. It was so quiet. My brother pointed to a flag that hung on a wall, and a sign that hung above it. It looked handmade and primitive. There were words chiseled into the face of it, but they didn't look like English. There were some letters and symbols that I didn't recognize. The flag was a red background with a sideways blue cross and had a white border around the cross. As I got older, I learned that this was a Norwegian flag from the 1800s. My brother grabbed the bottom corners of the flag, lifting them up to reveal a small door not much bigger than myself. He looked at me, and I stared back for a moment before he opened the door. A surge of cold, smelly, old, nasty air wafted out from the blackness inside. We both groaned in repulse, trying desperately not to vomit. Once we settled, my brother said, "Climb on in, let's check it out." As I reluctantly climbed in, I tried to let my eyes adjust to the darkness. I scanned the crawl space of the house until I noticed something move out of the corner of my eye, and I refocused on an odd-looking figure in the dark. It lurched forward in my direction and growled at me just as the light behind me was snuffed out from the little door slammed shut. For the moment I was paralyzed, completely strangled with fear. This thing made a few thumping noises and sounds like something rustling around, getting closer. In this moment, I regained functionality of my body and mind and began banging and hitting on the door with every ounce of desperation. The only two thoughts that flooded my mind was one of certainty and one of uncertainty. I was certain at this point that the sign above the door was a warning in a much older language of some unholy creature from some nightmare in this waking world. Do not enter. The uncertain thought was more of a question. Was this terrible, blood-curdling scream that reverberated through my ears into my skull, rattling my soul around, coming from this unknown horror? Or was it coming from me?